Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And with episode 13 of Shield Hero today, it's time for us to say goodbye to Shield Hero Season 2. Now, I know I said this in my previous episode last week, but I wanted to say it again. That despite the problems that Shield Hero this season has had, I still really enjoyed it. You know, my love for the series has not diminished at all. If anything, it's still grown. I think I like the series even more now, after this season. But I can definitely admit to its problems, you know. The cut content that a lot of people I saw were upset about, and the rushed pacing of it. Those are unavoidable topics that you can't avoid when you're talking about Shield Hero Season 2. That being said, I still think it was a good season, despite its flaws, and I enjoyed it. And I think we had a pretty good episode today, honestly, all things considered. You know, a nice little palate cleanser of an episode, if you will, from our action-packed spectacle of our last week's episode. And I think it's good. It's getting us ready for Season 3. And yes, Season 3 is coming, guys. Because if you remember in 2019, when Season 1 ended, actually, they announced immediately that we were going to get Seasons 2 and 3. Right then and there. And to my knowledge, that's the first time an anime has done that, in my opinion, which is kind of crazy. It just speaks volumes of how popular Shield Hero really is. But with that said, let's get into today's episode as our Season 2, Episode 13 final of Shield Hero. Now, our episode today, it was kind of like a relaxing one, but it was a somber one at the same time. Because it begins with Naofumi and the gang going on a journey. And throughout this whole episode today, we kind of had little remember berries sprinkled throughout it, you know? To kind of fill in the gaps a bit of some of the stuff that was not in the season previously. Some people may like that, some don't. But I think it's a good thing that we get these little we get these little scenes that kind of give us a bit more insight into our season, you know? So let's just kind of get into our episode. As I said, Naofumi and the gang are going on a journey. They're going on a trip in this episode. But first they stop off and do a little bit of fishing, you know? And they're kind of just talking amongst themselves. You know, Filo's trying to fly again. Because she could fly in Kizna's world, but now that they're back in their world, she's a giant Fiorial at this point. She can't fly. And she's bummed out about that. You know, Rishia's still doing Rishia things. And they start reminiscing, you know, about the time that they went to get clothes with Kizna. And we kind of have a little girl moment here. And I don't mind stuff like this every once in a while, you know. I think it's good character building. And it really showcases how their friendship was built up over the course of this season. And of course, Kizna said in her normal way, your defense and fashion sense are totally out of whack right now. So she's looking for clothes for him, and she notices Raphtalia is looking at Naofumi, trying to pick out a good outfit for him. Because, you know, she likes him. In case you guys didn't know that already. So she's trying to figure out, alright, what's he gonna like the best? So Kizna approaches her, and she notices that, and her with the help of Rishia, actually start picking out a bunch of outfits for Raphtalia. And it's a cute little scene, you know? Really showcasing how they're trying to make her look as adorable as possible, so Naofumi will notice her. And I like how the scene does connect into a scene we got in the season, where she's asking him about her outfits, and he's like, oh, that's good. Oh, I think mine's probably the best. It's got the best defense. And we realize Naofumi is as dense as a rock. Not a black hole, but he is as dense as a rock. And it's from here that we actually transition to Kizna and Yomogi actually fishing in their world, reminiscing about Naofumi and the gang as well. Showcasing that they are very similar, honestly. Kizna and Naofumi. And they start talking amongst themselves. And Yomogi actually asks Kizna, like, what was it like to be inside of the infinite prison? for years on end. What was that like? And we actually get a little bit of backstory and insight of how Kizna was before she met Naofumi and the gang in there. How she had to survive on her own. How she tried many a times to escape and even tried to kill herself at one point. And it's kind of dark if you think about it. But then we get a great scene. A nice little reference to Castaway of all movies, where she makes a Wilson a ball with her, paints a face on it, and that's her companion the whole time throughout her time there. And I laugh at it, but something like that honestly might save someone's sanity a bit. If you're all alone, just having someone to talk to definitely does help. And we see that her little familiar, Chris, that's with her now, is kind of pouting like, why didn't you bring me? What the hell? Why didn't you bring me with you? And it's kind of a nice little scene, you know? It's good to get a little bit more insight into Kizna, because that was one of the things I saw a lot of people actually upset about, that we didn't get as much info about Kizna and her tale and all that as we should have. So I'm glad we got this little bit in this episode, you know? Just that little bit extra adds way more flavor to the dish, you know? But it's actually from here that Yomogi tells Kizna a little bit of her tale. And, you know, it might be a little corny, but I like it, you know? She starts talking about Kyo, actually. And how their relationship was before he went to the other world. Yeah, she starts explaining a little bit of how Kyo was before he went to the other world to try to steal the spirit tortoise's power. About how this was one of the last times she actually had some fun times with him. And it's a quirky little story about him trying to find his glasses and all that. And they were on his head the whole time. You know the whole spiel. And she starts cracking up about it. But I kind of like this scene because it shows that no matter how much of a piece of shit Kyo was, how evil he really was, he did have people that cared about him and looked out for him, which makes it all the more sad that he turned out how he did. Because when she was explaining this story, she said, every time I try to remember his face, I always see his face at the end, his final moments. That's what I picture. And through reminiscing with Kizna a bit, she was able to remember the happy time she had with him. So that kind of gave her a little bit of closure. And I like that throughout her story, Chris is just looking at her like, oh, this chick's kind of weird. Kizna's familiar is really funny, guys. And I do want to mention how I think it's actually adorable as hell that Naofumi's familiar, Raphtalia, just kind of sits on her shoulder now. And it's kind of like a companion to her. I think it's kind of adorable because it's just a little version of her. So I think it's really funny that it sticks with her now. I kind of like that. But we actually transition back to Naofumi and the gang as Filo tries to fly once again and almost kills everyone, you know, normal stuff for the party. But during this scene, Rishia we get our last little remember berry of the episode with Rishia actually bringing up a really funny scene that happened previously in our season, actually. About how she told Rishia to get intimate as fast as possible. And we get a little more clarity into that as we see another little girl scene, actually, where all the female members of the party are sitting together by a fire. And Raphtalia asked Ost, like, what did you mean by get intimate as fast as possible? What did you mean by that? And now, we as the viewer, we know how that's gonna go. But Raphtalia, being innocent, of course doesn't know what it means. She's like, huh? What does that mean? So Ost officially tells her, to Rishia's complete and utter embarrassment. And we get a hilarious scene with Raphtalia hearing this, and she's like, what does that mean still? Do what with his what? And then Philo's like, oh, you gotta tell me too. And Rishia's like, oh, Philo's not gonna know what she's talking about. But of course she does. She's like, oh, wait, mate with master? And then Raphtalia gets it. And we get just a nice little fun scene between them, you know. Just showing how Ost was pretty close to our party, honestly. I wish we would have seen more of that throughout the season, to be fair, but it's still a nice little scene that we got here today, really showing how they became closer on the journey. And it makes the final scene of our episode way more impactful. Because as we transition back to the present, actually, we realize the destination that they've all been going to this whole time. It's the site of where the spirit tortoise was defeated and that Oath died at. And we notice that they brought flowers with them. So they're there paying respects to her. And when the score kicks in, guys, it's a beautiful scene. You know, everyone's crying, everyone's emotional, everyone's sad. But they resolve themselves to keep their head held high and move forward. And as everyone's walking away, we see Naofumi actually looking back. And we see Oath there one last time, waving to him. And of course, he's sad in this moment, but he smiles for her. And in typical Naofumi way, he walks away with a grin on his face. And that's how our episode ends, actually. Like I said, I thought it was a great little episode to hold us over until season 3, guys, you know? We didn't need anything bombastic or anything. We just needed some nice closure to this arc. And I think this episode provided that very well. And our episode actually ends with them saying, this is the end of season 2, but now Fumi's and the gang's arduous tale will continue. Meaning season 3. And I don't know, like I said, I really like this season, guys. Despite its problems, I thought it was a good season, you know? I think it accomplished what it needed to accomplish, even if it was a bit rushed. So, I want to ask you guys in the comments, are you excited for season 3? I'm quite excited for season 3, especially now that I'm a light novel reader. And I can't wait to get to the season 2 content. I'm literally about to finish book 4, and I'm on the trial of mine right now, and it's it's pretty great in the book. Let me say, it feels more savage in the book than it did in the anime. That was a little different, and I'm really loving it. But anyway, you guys let me know. Are you excited for season 3? Because I really am, you know? So let me know in the comments how you feel about that. But I think that'll be it for today's episode, guys, you know? We're wrapping up Shield Hero today. We're about to start a brand new season of anime. Just good times all around. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, just deuces and have a blessed day.